When I was a graduate student decades ago, I had something similar happen to me. I was going to present my research, and just before me, there was this Professor Tony Cohen from the UK, a very well-known name in AI and spatial reasoning, who was presenting. And he presented essentially exactly the same thing I was going to be presenting. So I got some very good advice at that point from my advisor. I think that was the most significant contribution he made, other than making sure that I actually submitted my thesis. Because he pointed out, you can look at this in two ways. First is its validation. So your ideas are not backup because somebody else has them too. And the second, more importantly, whenever possible, stand on the shoulders of giants. So this morning we had Derek, for example, talking about what the world would be without maps. They talked about the key point that you want to make. So here's another, I'm going to tell a few stories, then I'll come into the actual presentation, which may have nothing to do with the stories. But hopefully at the end of the day, what happens today when you go to a Google search? You look at the first page. And if you don't find the answer there, you don't know what is this person talking about within the first minute. Your attention has wandered off to the cupcakes at the Maker Faire. So the key point over here is the map is a very, very effective way of giving you a compact context. It helps you understand more than just what you asked for. Okay? My brother happens to be in the Air Force, and one of the things that was drilled into him, since I see a lot of people in uniform here, is that the map is not the territory. That's where reconnaissance is so important, right? I just pointed out that if you take imagery into the thing, that it gives you so much more context, it's very much closer to the territory. That is what is happening these days. Technology has advanced to the point where it is actually meeting what Don Norman, one of the key people behind the great design that you see at Apple. You may hear about Johnny Ives, but it was Don Norman's ideas that all of them espouse. What he says, what is the purpose of all of this? The purpose of all of this technology is, these are things that make us smart, these are things that make our life easier, these are things that make us better husbands. So how does this matter to Oracle? We are in the information management business. Location provides context. Visualization presents that context very effectively. We want to help you utilize that in your enterprise, in your business. How have these things changed? It's because the Internet of Things that Ed mentioned touches everything. It's whether or not your house warms up in time, or whether or not you remember the right location, or whether or not you can have that child in India be excited about something. That is how it has changed everything. Because now it's not just things that make us smarter, it's things that make us work collaboratively better. Make our life easier because the power of the crowds, the wisdom of the crowds, as Google leverages. It leverages the wisdom of the crowds when it makes it easier for you to find something close by. So you talked about this thing about being never lost. Here's the other story. So my son wanted to visit Berkeley. And I want to point out, Berkeley still is a bit of a hippie town, so when I talk about the places over there, you'll understand. So we went to Berkeley, we were doing a campus visit. Since I'm supposed to be working in spatial, people think that if you work in spatial, you can actually find your way around. So they hand me the campus map after we parked and said, where do we have to go? So I looked at the campus map, said, here's where we are, where we're parked, that's the building we need to go to, and promptly started heading off in the wrong direction. My son took out his Android device and said, oh, on the map, pretty in pink is over here, it's all Greek to me is over there, we have to head in that direction. He got the context from the wisdom of the crowds where people had put in things about what's their favorite Greek restaurant or their other things. But the point being, it's things that make our lives easier, things that make us smarter, it's the collaboration that makes it better. And so that is what the Internet of Things is. It's not just things that are connected to Internet, but things that are connected to each other. The proximity sensors in the house. that those help you do things better. And that has resulted in the datafication of everything. Your thoughts, the fact that you like It's All Greek to Me, and the fact that your friends like things that you like, and therefore that's probably somewhere they'd want to go and visit. It's the datafication of the things. It's the fact that all of these cars or all of these sensors are all of a sudden moving at a slower rate, therefore maybe there's a traffic build-up here on this road. It's the activities. It's the smartwatch, right? It's not just, so let's take an example of what that means. What that expectation has led to is that I'm not just interested in a phone. It's the phone plus the technology, the network behind it, the collaboration that it enables. What we are now interested in is value-added service, or what we are truly interested in as an enterprise is the answers to your question. As the High Commissioner was saying this morning, right? The problem is that there is high acidity. I'm really interested in the solution. How do I get there quickly without having to be a geospatial engineer, without having to be a geologist? I'm an environmental scientist, but how do I get that answer quickly? That is the new expectation. And as an example of the smartwatch, or in this case of the government device, it's not just telling me what my track is. I now have an expectation, since things, thoughts, activities have been all sources of data, why can't I now use that device to do a few things? Why can't I simply use it as a way to compete against myself, to make my run better as I go out and time that and see? Why can't I then create a virtual competition against others in my social network? And that's exactly what this device presents. In real time, it tells you, here's how you are doing against what you did the last time, under different weather conditions. Here's how you're doing against your friends who have also been on this track. So, how does that work in an enterprise context? How can I provide better citizen services? An example is San Francisco. Let me know before I get there. Google's told me I'm going to leave now for the airport. You don't want to be spending half an hour at the airport trying to find a place to park, because all of the choices that they made over there to tell you to leave 1 hour before suddenly goes out the window if you can't find a place to park. You don't want to spend $300 when your car gets stolen. So this fact that the other key thing about all of these devices and the things that the makers and others are making is they all are location-infused technology. They all, today, you take it for granted that they, besides what they're sensing, they provide location. That location provides context. That location makes it much easier to provide things that are relevant to you. So a business traditionally would look at how do I organize my information so that I can run my business more smoothly, but that's not sufficient anymore today. Today you want to be data-driven. Today you want to be taking advantage of the fact that all of these sensors are providing location context too. You want to look at that data and see what you can do to provide real-time information that is valuable. There are parking slots available over here, otherwise, if it's full, go to the satellite parking. Even before you get to the central parking, for example in Boston, if you have to make this choice between you go to central parking, it's full, you want to go to satellite parking, you're likely to miss your flight. You want that information before. So the enterprises, what have they done to react to this? They're not. So they're saying, well, this is our problem. The sensors are providing a whole lot of information. There's less and less capital investment. Maybe we should be looking at these two things in conjunction with you. Dealing with a lot of this data, also taking advantage of the fact that infrastructure is now used to. And dealing with that information appropriately. So as it comes in, look at the cheap raw storage, the data that I've filtered and said I need to actually deal with for running my business, for doing my permitting, for securing my homeland, for providing better citizen services, put that in an operational, and for dealing with the real-time information so that I can say park in the satellite parking, head for the satellite parking rather than the central parking. All of that should be part of the infrastructure that you use, and that is what we do. Our point is that any of this, everything that you want to be using for your personal, for your enterprise, for your organization, for your state and local government, that should have this capability to deal with location, to deal with proximity, to deal with providing information at the right time, at a bite-sized, consumable context. So it starts with the database understanding all types of this information, to dealing with it when I have a hole, I'm dealing with this great big firehose of data coming in at a very high rate, I want to quickly filter it, quickly contextualize it, and then provide it in the cloud, either as an analytics platform or as a filtering platform. Thank you very much.